Freedom from family curses. What's the solution? Adam did not have any family curses. He didn't have any ancestors. It's as simple as that. But he started them. We read in Romans 5:12, therefore, as by one man, sin entered into the world. It was from that moment on, brethren, that the curse of demons were released onto the world. And you know that because in the millennium, the lion lays with the kid that plays in the hole of the snake. That can only happen when the demons were put away. Remember, on the Day of Atonement, Satan and the demons are put in. That causes the curse to be removed from the earth. So family curses is part of the package of curses. God said to Adam, you want to live this way? Release the demons. And they are tied in with family curses. You're going to see this more and more. And what did Paul write about in the armor of God chapter, Ephesians 6? We are wrestling not with flesh and blood, but against principalities of darkness. And so those are the demons. And they run amok through the generations in our family lines. They call it genealogy. So I made a list of the 10 curses that I see outlined in the Bible. Let's go through these. Number 1, anger and violence. Generations plagued by unchecked rage and conflict. We're going to see where that started in the Bible. Number 2, sexual immorality. Oh, the Bible didn't leave that one out. Patterns of lust and adultery. Pornography running rapid through the pages of the internet. And even, sadly, incest. Number 3, abuse. Cycles of physical, emotional, and even verbal abuse. Number 4, the love of money. Oh, families are plagued with that one. I once witnessed through, it was called Time Warner then, a cable company, where he could, for $100, connect me with my neighbor, and he wouldn't know. For the love of money, whatever you can do to advance. After all, the system is rigged. Number 5, laziness and poverty. Now, this was big in Sodom and Gomorrah, as we read in Ezekiel. It says how to beat the system while living in hardship. Try to sell that one at a motivational conference. Live in hardship, but we can beat the system. Number 6, substance addiction. Trapped in cycles of dependency. They have Narcotics Anonymous, Alcoholics Anonymous. You have prescription drugs also running rapid. And they'll say, oh, that just runs in our genes. So they accept the family curse. And that's what Satan wants you to do. Let's continue. Number 7, pride and rebellion, arrogance and defiance against authority. No family structures. Oh, if you see a police officer, you do this, son. They don't respect authority. The elders are disrespected. Not good. Broken families. Number 8, victimization. The mindset of blame. Unresolved anger and grudges passed down. Very, very bitter people. Bitter families. Blaming their victims. Number 9, obesity. And wow, is that growing? Obesity and poor health. They want us to get to the cruise ship of Wally Land. It says cycles of unhealthy habits leading to sickness and disease. Have you ever heard that one? That just runs in our family. Obesity. Oh, let me check your cupboards. Why do you have Captain Crunch? Why do you have carbs? Nothing wrong with carbs, but there's an imbalance. There's an imbalance in the shape of the human. Obesity, and bad health. Number 10, corruption of speech. Oh, I've witnessed this one. Oh, did you hear the F-bombs from that man of the household? Oh, that's this Uncle Jimmy. He's that way. You ever heard of that one? That's just your old man. Now that accepts it. Now, brethren, these are the 10. It says in Titus 2:8, use sound speech that cannot be condemned, so that the one who opposes you may be ashamed, having nothing evil to say about you. Now, brethren, as we read this list of 10, you can recognize your own family. If we don't have any family curses, what do we need to come out of? Think about that. Now, some of these can plague us here and there. That's the old man coming back. But the key is, if we want freedom from family curses, listen up. Apostle John said it. We practice righteousness. We're not practicing wickedness. That's what God called us out of. But it's good to recognize these 10 family curses. Now, all 10 keep families in what? Bondage. They can't see the light. Satan has them fooled. They're fueled by the wicked one's bribes. Every one of these 10, like the cable box, oh, we get free cable. I had a friend offer me the other day, $250 a new box. You get all the motion pictures before they come out. You can watch them all just for $250. That's a bribe. Not good. That's the love of money. So I want to go to John chapter 8 because you got to be very careful of the wicked one. It says in Exodus 23:8, the bribe blinds the wise and perverts the words of the righteous. So be very careful. There are family curses, and they started with Adam, and they went all the way until this time of Sodom and Gomorrah, as Jesus stated. Let's go to John 8. This is Jesus speaking, verse 43. Why don't you understand my speech? Because you cannot bear to hear my words. They're stuck in those family curses. You are of your father, the devil. Isn't that how they're passed down? Through the fathers? And the lust of your father you desire to practice. There it is. Practice wickedness. They're stuck in it. We have been freed from it. He was a murderer from the beginning and has not stood in Jesus. The truth, that's the key. That's the antidote. Because there is no truth in him. Whenever he speaks a lie, he is speaking from his own self, for he is a liar and the father of family curses. And because I speak the truth, you do not believe me. Why? They're blocked. Which one of you can convict me of any sin? But I speak the truth. Why don't you believe me? So Jesus was born into family sins with Mary. You don't think she didn't have any? You don't think she didn't have any? Of course she did. But he was Jesus. He had a full measure of the Spirit, showing us that they won't penetrate his mind. He wasn't influenced by them. He didn't take the bribe. So he lived an example for us how to come out of family curses. And it's only through Jesus that you can do this. Now, go to verse 47. The one who is of God, that's you, right? Are you of God? Absolutely. Praise God. It says, it's talking to you. Here's the words of God. We don't have blockers. For this reason, you do not hear, because you are not of God. So it's either or. You either are in family curses or you are out of the family cursed. And now blessings can come. And that's the blessings of God. So we have to hear. Now, right before this, I want to go back a bit to verse 34. Christ says, Jesus answered them, truly, truly, I say to you, everyone who practices sin, or their family curses, is a servant of sin. And the servant does not live in the house forever, but the son lives forever. And that's where we ultimately want to go, is the house of God. There will be no family curses in the house of God. Therefore, if the son shall set you free, he does it, you shall truly be set free. I know that you are Abraham's seed, but you are seeking to kill me. So they had the family curse of what? We had anger and violence, number one. That's what they had. Because my words do not enter into your minds. They have those spiritual earmuffs on. And the family curses support those earmuffs. They're in every cabinetry of every household on the earth, unless you've been called out of them. And that's what God has done. So, when did this start? We know with Adam, as we showed, he laid the foundation for family curses. Because in Adam, all die. Let's go to Genesis chapter 4. Let's begin in verse 8. And Cain talked with his brother Abel, and it came to pass that when they were in the field, this is after Pentecost, Cain rose up against his brother, there's that number one, anger and violence, and killed Abel. The first murder in the Bible. But we know before that, Satan is the father of murderers. And the Lord said unto Cain, where is your brother Abel? And he said, I do not know. Am I my brother's keeper? And he said, what have you done? The voice of your brother's blood cries out to me from the ground. And now you are cursed from the earth, which opened the mouth to receive your brother's blood from your hand. And God can do this. When you till the ground, it shall no longer yield its strength to you. And you shall be a wanderer and a fugitive upon the earth. Look at that. Vagabond. And Cain said to the Lord, my punishment is greater than I can hear, and so forth. Well, what we have here, we have Cain. He started this anger, this murdering, into the line of Cain, of family curses. Now, if you go to verse 23, go down there. This is from Cain. Lamech said to his wives, plural, you know what they call that? Polygamy. First guy in the Bible to do it against God. You shall take one wife. That's why Adam had Eve. Okay? He didn't use all the ribs and make many wives. And Ada and Zillah, their names mean ornament and shade. Oh, I have an ornament, and now I have shade. He thought he was doing so great. Hear my voice, wives of Lamech. He talked in the third person. Hearken to my words, for I have killed a man because he wounded me, a young man because he hurt me. Justification. For if Cain is avenged 7 times, then truly, talking the third person again, Lamech is avenged 77 times. What mockery! What pride! What arrogance! And if he had kids, they'd be witnessing it. That's what happens in these households. They witness the family curses and they continue with them and they grow. And that's what happened. He was boastful, brethren. And let's go to Numbers 14. We'll continue chronologically. Let's go to Numbers 14 and verse 16. Because the Lord was not able to bring this people into the land, that was the promised land. Why? Which he swore to them, therefore he has slain them in the wilderness. Why did he slay them? Because they were looking back to their family curses, back to Egypt, where they were comfortable, just like those that are obese are comfort food. You get comfortable. That's Laodicea. Notice, and now I beseech you, let the power of my Lord be great, according as you have spoken, saying, the Lord is long suffering, and he was with us, right? and of great mercy, forgiving iniquity, notice sin, and transgression, and by no means clearing the guilty, that's us, clearing us, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the sons to the third and the fourth generation. And that's what sin does. Oh, I'm not hurting anyone. I'm in my room doing my own thing. No, it affects you. How about this? That person that says that, they're in the image of God, right? They're supposed to be out like a tree bearing fruit. They're hurting people because they are not giving fruit. That's their potential and who they should be. That's what sin does. See, even that statement is selfish. I'm not hurting anyone. That's what sin does. It puts you in that state. That's a family curse right there. It leads to laziness and all sorts of sins. Let's go to Joshua chapter 24, verse 14. Now, therefore, fear the Lord. That's a key to have freedom from these things, and serve him in sincerity and truth. Isn't that what Jesus says? And put away the gods, those are demons, which your fathers served. The family curses. They're run by demons. Some have a truckload. Some have a caravan. Some have one or two, but they accept them. They serve them on the other side of the river and in Egypt. And now serve God, serve the Lord. And if it seems evil to you to serve the Lord, oh, I don't want that. Choose this day whom you will serve. Whether the gods which your fathers served beyond the river, or the gods of the Amorites in whose land you live. But as for me, notice my house. Powerful. Remember that for the ending. My house, we will serve the Lord. Now that house doesn't have family curses, correct? The other ones accept and have a handshake. They do a business contract with the bride. I really need number 5. Yeah, lazy and poverty. And they shake and they have a demon controlling their lives. And then they're in an insanity loop. And all these interchain. No one has just one. There's many facets of these. And we have come out of family curses. Now, praise God for that one. For a second, just think right now. Praise God that you're not being held down, suppressed by a demon. We have been released from that. What a wonderful blessing that is. Now, this is the first commandment, isn't it? Think about it. You shall have no other gods before you, because if you do, you're serving whoever is before God. The atheist serves himself, probably with some demons. They just don't see them. Remember, they only worship and do things they see. So Satan's got them. And they have family curses. With atheism becomes arrogance, pride, and that's one of the 10. So that's the first commandment. Now let's go to the second commandment. Let's go to Exodus. Exodus 20, because this is tied. And did you know it mentions family curses? The one God wrote with his finger? That was the finger of Jesus, the Word, back then. Interesting, huh? Exodus 20 and verse 5, he's writing, you shall not bow yourselves down to them. Those are demons, idols, nor serve them. For I, the Lord, your God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of those who hate me. So anyone stuck in family curses hates God. And they can have a Bible. Most do have a Bible right in their home. Collecting dust, that is. Family curses are destroying the lands. They're prepping the sins to go all the way to reach heaven, which will be the very end when the man of sin comes on the stage talking to all those that he has trapped in family curses. One of the biggest houses is Washington, D.C. The White House has many family curses in there. We have been freed. And that we have to recognize. Now, it's tied to the first and second commandments. This is the key to get out of them. You must start with those. And you first start by fearing God. Then you move onward and you don't take God's name in vain, which is one of the curses that we have, corruption of speech. And you honor your father and your mother, and you go down the line. With that said, remember Jacob. God worked with Jacob. Remember, he wrestled them. He's wrestling his family curses. Think about it. And out came Israel. Correct? That's the new man. Our old man is engulfed in family curses. So Jacob became Israel. But when he was Jacob, he had a wife named Rachel. And Rachel brought idols into his caravan. Yeah, she could have died. So why are those things in the Bible? They're all tied to family curses that she was holding on to. She didn't want to get rid of. And that's a fact. And she had to learn to get rid of those. Now, let's continue onward. Let's go to 586 BC. Is that year strike a date? That is when Babylon took over Judah with Nebuchadnezzar, the head of the beast power. And we have here, let's go to Lamentations. See the word lament in Lamentations? Jeremiah wrote this because he was a prophet during that time. 5:5. Our pursuers are at our necks. Those are demons. Notice they're not inside you, but they're after you, right? We grow weary. No rest is given to us. We have given the land, or his hand, to Egypt, to Assyria, to be satisfied with bread. That was a bribe. Our fathers have sinned. Notice that. And are not. We have borne their iniquity. So if someone goes, no, not me. No, not my family. Then you have one of the family curses. That's called deception. Remember, he's the father of lies. So if you think your family without God, that family, has no family curses, you're deceived. Look at it. It says right here, our fathers have sinned and are not. We have borne their iniquities. You can't stop it. They just come. Slaves rule over us. Now, I scratch my head on that one. You know who that is? Well, they're demons, but it's the Babylonian officials using their slaves to oppress Judah. And that's exactly what will happen. You allow the sins of your father and you take the bribe, right? Remember Zedekiah? You need to do this and that. And he put Jeremiah in a cesspool. Because he's in the cesspool now. Okay, let's go back to our family curses. He didn't say that because he's deceived, but that's what the code said. Correct? Like the lazy man says, there's no jobs. That's the code. That's the family curse speaking. So we have come out of that and slaves ruled over them. They were serving them now, serving Babylon, the great system. There is none to deliver us out of their hand. Now, I have a golden nugget, just came to me right now. The end time beast power, it starts with the head of Satan, Babylon. It keeps getting more sophisticated with Persia, the Greek Empire. Oh, they made it sophisticated. Rome did it at a whole new level, taxing you and so forth. Well, if Rome could see us today, the 10 toes, the people mixed with Rome, our system, they would be very impressed. We pay more taxes than those in Rome when they're under bondage. More. Isn't that interesting? And you know why? That one that's in the head, Satan, he knows he can pull this off, this bondage, if you have family curses. And what they do is they grow. They're running amok in our land. And if you don't see it, then you're blind because you don't want to see it. But when you want to see it and you see it, you will know them by their fruits. We are allowed to look up and observe and to judge righteous judgment. We don't condemn. So we see what's around us. And we march forward to the kingdom of that household of blessings. That's where we're going because we come out of the household of curses. So as we continue in the sermon, And I want to go to Ezekiel 18. Go to Ezekiel 18 because the righteous will be set free from the family curse. Ezekiel chapter 18, starting in verse 19. Yet you say, why? Does not the son bear the iniquity of the father? When the son has done that which is lawful and right? That's not fair, right? And has kept all my statutes and has done them, he shall surely live. That's what happens. So if there's a family curse and the son goes, I want to break this. This is messed up. I don't want to say F-bombs. I want to say blessings out of these lips because he's reading the Bible. The curse doesn't have to continue. It could stop right there. Isn't that a wonderful verse? The soul that sins, it shall die in what? In family curses. All those that die in the lake of fire die in the family curse. The son shall not bear the iniquity of the father, nor shall the father bear the iniquity of the son. And the wickedness of the wicked shall be upon him. This breaks it by being righteous, following God's laws, fearing God, keeping those first two commandments. Get those demons out of this household. And that house is what? Your temple. Right? Your temple is your body. That's why it's got to be preserved like God. We have to observe it. I have an ache and a pain in my right finger, and I got to know why, what's causing it. I pray about it. If anything is wrong with this body, I can't just accept it. Is that a family curse? Which comes with a bribe and a contract with a demon? I don't want to do that anymore. I want the glorious kingdom, the household of blessings. Do you? Do you want it, brethren? Well, we have been freed from the family curses. Now let's go to Jeremiah chapter 16. Jeremiah 16, because this is a prophecy way into the future. After the 1,000 years, there's a great reboot. They're rebooted, all physical. And then Satan's let out. He goes to the four corners of the earth. Interesting, four corners. And he goes and does his family curse card. This is who you are. He deceives, doesn't he? Jeremiah chapter 16, and let's read verse 19. O Lord, my strength and my fortress against family curses, and my refuge in the day of affliction. The Gentiles shall come to you from the ends of the earth, and shall say, surely our fathers have inherited lies. They'll know then, finally. Remember Revelation 12:9? Satan, that old serpent who has deceived the whole world. Remember that? They're deceived. They're stuck in them. The only reason you're not stuck into them because God opened your eyes. You seeked him. You feared him. You kept his commandments. Correct? Jesus is growing in you. They are deceived right now. But there's a time coming when their eyes shall be open and you're going to teach them. Isn't that amazing? They shall say, surely our fathers have inherited lies, vanity, and there's no profit in them. That's the first step, recognizing I'm an alcoholic. You recognize it, and then you can move forward, correct? And that's their first step. How beautiful it is. God has a plan for all those to have blessings instead of cursings. With that said, I thought about in the Bible, who's a good example? And I thought about King David. And wow, King David, he wrote in Psalm 51:5, I quote, behold, I, David, was brought forth in sin. And in sin did my mother conceive me. Remember, there's foolishness bound up in every child, and they have to get it out of them. God's getting it out of us. You know why there's foolishness bound up in every child? Because of the family curses. You ever thought of that one? That makes sense now, right? That's what we're coming out of. But if you go and look at King David's line, which led all the way to Christ, correct? But if you go back from David and you start with Tamar, you remember with Judah? And Judah thought she was a prostitute, and then there was kids, all kinds of problems, correct? Now, if you follow this list, there was these generations, Tamar to Perez, Hezron to Ram, to Amminadab, to Nahshon. Now look at number 7, Salmon. You know who was married to Salmon? Rahab, a prostitute. Oh, in the line of King David? Yeah, a prostitute. And then you go Boaz, Obed, Jesse. Then you get to King David. Now, King David had a family curse. It was called sex addiction. And it's a fact. And at the end, he passed the test. That's what's beautiful. However, meanwhile, he takes on many wives. He took polygamy to a whole nother level. Some think, I think he's Mormon. What is up with this? Look at this. He had multiple wives. And then he's on a terrace being lazy as well with his sexual eyes, and he sees Bathsheba. See, Bath? And then one sin led to another sin. And then, this is interesting, when you study the whole Bible, you'll see sexual sins. God doesn't just hide them. He puts them out there. This is reality. This is who you are. Come out of them. And they're all over in the Bible. But I noticed the sexual sins lead to violence constantly in the Bible. And so what did he do? He killed Uriah the Hittite, then try to cover it up and so forth. He was in a family sin, and he had to get out of it. And he had to pay for it, didn't he? Even when he repented, you still have to pay for this, Nathan the prophet said. Your offspring, they're going to curse you. And then, what do we have? His firstborn had incest. His firstborn, Amnon, had incest with his sister, his half-sister, who was from a Syrian mother. But guess whose brother she was? To Absalom. And Absalom killed them, continuing the family curse, correct? Absalom rebels, and what does he do? He continues. He comes back, and he has sex with all of David's, as it was prophesied, all his concubines, in a tent, on the roof, in front of all Israel. Right? Family curse fireworks. Not good. So these generational curses continues. It gets worse. King David had a son. Now, King David overcame family curses, which shows it doesn't mean, I overcame and now my son is perfect. No, he still has to overcome to the 3rd and 4th generation. And Solomon inherited him. And what did he do? He took him to a whole nother level. Correct? 1,000 women, 700 wives, a lot of marriages, 300 concubines. Now, you know why he could? Because he could afford them. Think about that. But he was addicted to sex. And it was his downfall at the end. It says that. The family curses caught up to King Solomon with all the wisdom. But what does it say? A bribe can even deceive a righteous man. Now, that happened. Now, there was also some other sons. Remember, Solomon, with all his wives, had an Ammonite woman. And out popped Rehoboam. Interesting. So when you go into others, it creates more family curses. Rehoboam continued this, and he took on 18 wives and 60 concubines. That's a lot of women. And then David's great-grandson, Abijah, married 14 wives. It just kept his line, had this sin throughout the generations. And it goes all the way down to Jesus. We know it stopped with him. That's amazing. And it can stop with you. It has. So that's the purpose of this sermon. There's family curses God doesn't want us to be ignorant through the pages of the Bible. It's actually there a lot more than I thought before I prepared for the sermon. But we have come out of it, and we want the blessings of the household of God. So you go all the way to Jesus, and you read in John chapter 4, he approached the woman at the well, the Samaritan woman, right? And whoa, something different about this Jesus. Why are you asking me and all this stuff? Because he's a Jew. And he says, you have had 5 husbands. Whoa, 5. And the one you're currently living with, he could have said it. I'll paraphrase. You're shacking up with. Now, isn't that a family curse today? Just going through different men or going through different women. And now I'll just live with them. So when I don't have to do a certificate of divorce, I can just commit fornication. And that's exactly what is happening in these households of curses across the land as the sins are reaching God's throne. You have shacking up, and it's accepted. And I've heard many of the excuses. What's the number one cause of marriage, divorce in marriages? And one guy I read today, he said, it's marriage. Marriage is the number one cause? No, it's adultery. That's what it is. I know they say lack of communication, but when you get down to it, it's adultery, because that's what it's leading to. That's the core of the matter. God doesn't mess around. He's foolproof. He tells you exactly what it is. It's called a narrow path to get out of these family curses. So the Samaritan woman had to come out of that if she wanted to change. Now, I'm going to read Proverbs 3:33. Now, think about this as the family curse and the blessings of God verse. Quote, the curse of the Lord is in the house of the wicked. So it's God's curse put on them for this way of living. Then it says, but he blesses the habitation of the righteous. That's why we call our household a house of God. We're saying and declaring this household does not have any family curses. The demons are out. We declare a household of God. And that's how we should be. We should come before God's throne, which is in the household of New Jerusalem above, with boldness and confidence to cast the demons out. Do not let them knock at the door, brethren. They're trying to get into your house. We are freed from family curses. And lastly, brethren, as this happens, God has changed all our lives, right? We have to be patient with those that have blindfolds on. One day, as we read in Jeremiah, they will be understanding that there's family curses. Right now, they'll give every excuse in the book. Don't sit there and argue and debate them. It's a waste of time. Better to shine your light unless they ask for solutions and give them one verse power punches with the sword. Don't give them a sermon and see if they bite. Remember, be a fisherman of men. Is it biting? That's what we got to do. And as some are called to the newbies, they call them, if they come in, they're bringing, and I know this, as a counselor of some coming by called into the household of God, I recognized that the hardest sins to overcome for newbies are the family curses. Why? Because they're accepted so easily. They've been for generations. It's part of their family. They have to understand that's not their family. See what this unlocks so much. Remember Jesus says, you have to forsake even your father and your mother, sister and brother. That's family curses. We got to escape family curses. That's a better way of saying it. Think about that. Otherwise, we embrace them. So as the newbies come in, let's be patient with them. We are called to be kings, like Josiah. And what did he do? He cleaned up a big mess of family curses. And he cut down the groves of all the family curses.